The air grew heavy before a single spell was cast. Invisible pressure pressed down upon the stone-paved street, thick as gathering storm clouds before a heavenly tribulation. In that suffocating silence, even the wind seemed to recoil, and the lesser cultivators felt their souls tremble as though standing at the edge of an unseen abyss. 4 nascent souls faced one, and the heavens themselves appeared to hold their breath. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. You can refine spatial tears into spatial pockets. How could such a heaven-defying art ever have come into being? Han Li's expression twisted shock and disbelief, warring openly across his face. Techniques that touched upon space were without exception, arts that defied the heavens and overturned the natural order. And yet the most common magical tool in the cultivation world, indeed, the most mundane application of spatial principles, was nothing more than the storage pouch. The finer the pouch, the more it could contain. But no matter how exquisite its craftsmanship, it could never truly be called a spatial pocket. Among cultivators, it was widely believed that supreme spatial arts did not exist within the mortal realm at all, that only beings of higher planes possessed the power to wield such unfathomable techniques. In the heavenly south, this belief had long been regarded as an unquestioned truth. Thus, when Elder Wang casually mentioned that a method to refine spatial tears had been discovered in the Great Jin over a millennium ago, the revelation struck Han Li like a thunderclap. Old Man Fu merely smiled. Fellow Taoist Han need not be so astonished. These so-called spatial pockets are not as inscrutable as you imagine. In truth, they amount to little more than a clever trick. Elder Wang gave a wry chuckle. Precisely. To most cultivators, spatial pockets are of limited use. Not only are they exceedingly difficult to refine, they are also bound by numerous restrictions. In all of Great Jin, I would wager there are no more than a dozen artificial spatial pockets. Our pavilion possesses perhaps the earliest one ever created. The earliest. Han Li's brow arched, astonishment flickering in his eyes. You mean? Elder Wang inclined his head. Indeed. This secret art originated from the hands of our pavilion's 2 grandmasters of tool refinement, likely the only individuals in this world capable of refining spatial tears. In fact, the hidden fortune rooms and mansions were born from the spatial pocket refinement techniques we painstakingly researched. Han Li let out a soft chuckle, his composure gradually returning. So that is the case. In that event, I truly wish to witness this mysterious spatial pocket for myself. Brother Wang, please proceed. I have already seen this little spectacle before, Old Man Fu said with a grin. As I must attend to this scarlet essence mushroom, I shall take my leave. He cupped his fists in farewell. Elder Wang returned the salute. Since Brother Fu has pressing matters, I will not detain you. We shall speak again another day. Before departing, Old Man Fu sent a final reminder to Han Li through sound transmission, urging him not to miss the last day of the underground trade fair. Han Li gave a casual nod. Moments later, the old man's departing footsteps echoed heavily through the hall before fading into silence. Elder Wang turned courteously to Han Li. Brother Han, this way, please. The spatial pocket lies behind the pavilion. We shall arrive in but a moment. With a flick of his sleeve, the remaining jade box upon the table vanished as if swallowed by the void. Han Li naturally agreed and followed him. They passed through layer upon layer of dense restrictions before arriving at a secluded chamber in the rear of the pavilion. Aside from a peculiar teleportation formation etched into the center of the floor, the room was utterly bare. The formation was far larger and more intricate than any ordinary spell array. A faint crease formed between Han Li's brows. Sensing his confusion, Elder Wang explained, "The only means of accessing the spatial pocket is through a teleportation formation. We must teleport." Han Li's expression shifted subtly. Could it be that the spatial tear you refined exists at a fixed location? Though curiosity stirred within him, he knew better than to probe too deeply into the secrets of another's refinement arts. When he saw Elder Wang step into the formation, he hesitated only briefly before following. As he approached, he noticed 8 mid-grade spirit stones embedded around the array. A single activation would cost no fewer than 800 low-grade spirit stones. If a return trip required the same, the total expenditure would exceed 1,000 in amount, far beyond what ordinary cultivators could casually afford. Even as such thoughts drifted through his mind, white light flared beneath their feet. In an instant, both figures vanished without a trace. When the glare subsided, dazzling radiance surrounded them once more. They now stood upon another formation, this one situated atop a slope of fractured white stone. Han Li steadied himself and slowly raised his gaze. The space before him stretched across several kilometers, fashioned entirely from pale white stone. Countless irregular apertures riddled the landscape, ranging from 3 to 30 meters in width, as though the heavens themselves had pierced the land with unseen spears. He drew in a slow breath and his heart grew faintly restless. Not a single trace of verdant life could be found. No grass, no trees, no whisper of green. The air was devoid of spiritual chi, barren of worldly veins. Above a dim grey sky loomed heavy and lifeless. This was a realm abandoned by vitality, a world exiled from creation. After stepping off the formation, Elder Wang spoke calmly, as fellow Taoist Han can see. This is a place without life and without worldly spiritual veins. It cannot compare to the legendary Spirit Ether Gardens, said to possess spiritual chi surpassing even that of the mortal realm. Of all the spatial tiers discovered within Great Jin, only 4 contained spirit veins at all, and even those were far inferior to the spiritual density of our world. Nevertheless, the sects who discovered them all sought our assistance in forging spatial pockets. Han Li stroked his chin, his expression thoughtful. From what you describe, these spatial pockets serve no extraordinary purpose beyond saving space and permitting free movement. It is little wonder I have not heard of them before. A trace of embarrassment surfaced on Elder Wang's face. That is not entirely accurate. Should a sect wish to conceal large objects, store vast quantities of materials, or hide an individual beyond the reach of pursuit, a spatial pocket is an ideal refuge. It may also serve as we use it here as a testing ground for magical tools and treasures. The true reason for their rarity lies in the scarcity of suitable spatial tiers. Few possess fixed positions, and fewer still are located where sects can practically utilize them. Moreover, stabilizing and refining such tiers demands astonishing resources. For these reasons, spatial pockets remain exceedingly rare. Han Li sighed softly. Even so, they differ greatly from what I had imagined. They cannot be carried upon one's person and require teleportation arrays for entry. They are far from the guardian dimensions of legend. Elder Wang chuckled. To carry a vast spatial pocket upon one's body, I fear only supreme beings who have ascended to the spirit realm or true immortals of the immortal realm could wield such heaven-defying power. How could such a thing exist within the mortal world? Even stabilizing an existing spatial tear requires a staggering amount of rare materials. That alone is already a remarkable breakthrough. At these words, Han Li's heart gave a sudden tremor. A thought flashed across his mind like lightning through storm clouds. You can stabilize a tier, he asked quietly. If one were on the verge of collapse, damaged nearly beyond repair, could it be reinforced? Elder Wang's expression shifted, surprise flickering across his features. Naturally. So long as the tear has not fully collapsed, we can employ specific materials to stabilize it. Could it be that fellow Taoist intends to attempt such a thing? Han Li gave a faint chuckle, his tone deliberately vague. I am aware of one overseas. It may collapse soon. Whether I can even enter it remains uncertain. Hearing this, Elder Wang wisely chose not to pursue the matter further. Instead, he flipped his hand and produced a jade box. I shall now release the hidden fortune mansion for your inspection. If it proves satisfactory, we may proceed to discuss its exchange. Han Li inclined his head. Please, fellow Taoist. Without further delay, Elder Wang opened the jade box. Pure white spiritual radiance spilled forth like liquid moonlight. Before Han Li could discern its contents, Elder Wang began chanting an incantation. The jade box trembled violently. In the next instant, a sphere of white light shot into the air and expanded at astonishing speed, swelling into a colorless cloud vast as several fields. Within the mist, faint outlines of white jade structures could be glimpsed like a palace concealed within drifting fog. Elder Wang formed a hand seal and pointed forward. The white cloud quivered, then plummeted to the ground. A thunderous explosion resounded. Light erupted in all directions. When the radiance faded, a magnificent residence fashioned entirely from pristine jade stood where there had been nothing. Hanli narrowed his eyes, his hands clasped behind his back as he silently examined the scene. Though smaller than most cave residences, the estate was exquisitely constructed. It possessed a slender tower, an elegant courtyard, and was shrouded in a luminous barrier of white mist, as if it were an illusion drawn from some distant, immortal realm. After a long moment of scrutiny, Hanli's figure blurred. In a streak of azure light, he shot toward the residence. Seeing this, Elder Wang swiftly retrieved a white jade medallion and waved it toward the estate. The mist barrier dissolved at once. Unhindered, Han Li vanished into the jade residence. After the time it took for a meal's incense to burn to ash, Han Li emerged once more before the jade residence, his face as calm and unreadable as still water beneath winter frost. Elder Wang's brows knit ever so slightly, but when Han Li drew near, he smoothed his expression into a genial smile. Was the treasure to fellow Taoist Han's satisfaction? The residence is not vast, Han Li replied evenly, yet it contains chambers for pill refinement, beast nurturing, and nearly every facility I might require. There is, however, one matter I do not fully understand. I must trouble Brother Wang for clarification. If it concerns the hidden fortune mansion, I shall answer to the best of my ability, Elder Wang said at once, his tone bright with confidence. Han Li met his gaze directly. Then I will speak plainly. I understand that the mansion's greatest merit lies in its ability to expand and shrink at will, rendering it convenient to carry. But when it contracts, will it behave as a storage pouch does, compressing the items within? And what of spirit beasts? Will they safely diminish alongside it? Elder Wang did not hesitate. The mansion may compress all furnishings refined together with it, tables, pill furnaces, spirit arrays, and the like. But living beings are another matter. Spirit beasts cannot withstand such compression. Even those capable of profound transformation would be crushed by the spatial pressure generated during the mansion's reduction. And even if by some miracle they endured that pressure, they would be sealed off from the outside world, cut off entirely from worldly spiritual chi. In time they would surely perish. His explanation was frank and unembellished. After all, such limitations would become evident with even the slightest test. After a moment's contemplation, Han Li continued, in that case, any medicinal herbs planted within the garden would also need to be removed each time the mansion is put away. Is that correct? Elder Wang pondered briefly before answering with a composed expression. That is correct, fellow Taoist. It is a flaw inherent to all hidden fortune mansions and one we have yet to overcome. Even so, thanks to the attached restrictions, you may summon or dismiss the mansion at your command. In terms of rarity and ingenuity, it far surpasses ordinary treasures. Han Li smiled faintly. That is precisely why I am interested in acquiring one. I only fear that my means may fall short. You intend to trade for it? Elder Wang's eyes brightened at once, a flash of delighted surprise surfacing within them. Han Li spoke with easy composure. I happen to possess several rare materials of little use to me. Once Brother Wang explains the exact price of the mansion, we may discuss what would be suitable for exchange. Certainly. All the items we seek are recorded in this jade slip. Please examine it at your leisure. With a broad smile, Elder Wang's sleeve quivered and a streak of white light shot toward Han Li. Han Li caught it with effortless precision and swept it with his spiritual sense. 2 hours later, Han Li stepped out through the gates of the Hidden Fortune Pavilion. Elder Wang personally escorted him to the entrance, smiling warmly all the while. Before departing, Han Li returned the courtesy with a cupped fist salute and a few polite words of farewell. Elder Wang watched his departing figure recede into the bustling street before turning back inside, satisfaction plainly written across his features. Han Li too wore a faint smile as his hand brushed the bulging storage pouch at his waist. After exchanging a substantial quantity of rare materials for the hidden fortune mansion, he had also taken out several demon cores and spirit herbs, selling them for a staggering sum of spirit stones. When he briefly considered producing even more materials, he noticed the unmistakable astonishment flickering in Elder Wang's eyes. Though he found the reaction faintly amusing, vigilance immediately tempered his thoughts. Men had slain for far less than what he possessed. Han Li knew that should he reveal further wealth, even his status as a mid-nascent soul cultivator might not be enough to deter covetous intentions. The hidden fortune pavilion's reputation was illustrious, and it ought to be trustworthy, but he currently bore the identity of an overseas cultivator. It was not impossible that he had already stirred temptation in Elder Wang's heart. Thus, upon leaving, Han Li released a thin thread of spiritual sense into his surroundings, sweeping discreetly through the area to ensure no one trailed him. Once satisfied, he slipped into a deserted alleyway. Azure light shimmered faintly across his garments as his figure blurred and shifted. When the radiance faded, a blue-robed, middle-aged Confucian scholar stood in his place, long beard flowing, features refined and upright. Save for late nascent soul cultivators, none would discern his true identity. Only then did Han Li resume browsing the shops at ease. Yet disappointment soon clouded his mood. Though the larger establishments possessed many valuable wares, none carried the materials required for refining Monarch Soul Divergence's puppet body or the Tri-Flame fan. As for ordinary ancient treasures, he had no shortage of those and felt no inclination to purchase more. Before long he reached the end of the street and found himself before an imposing stone edifice. "It seems I must wait for the auction to begin," he murmured inwardly. The structure was known as Treasure Shine Hall. Though modest in ornamentation, its scale was immense. 3 towering stories rose skyward, each stretching over 60 meters in height. The cavernous interior could easily accommodate over 1,000 cultivators, undoubtedly the reason the grand auction was to be held there. Several Foundation establishment cultivators stood guard at the entrance, barring ordinary cultivators from entering while preparations were underway. Han Li was not alone in loitering nearby. Other cultivators lingered as well, drawn by anticipation of the impending auction. He cast a lingering glance at the hall and was about to depart when 4 figures suddenly emerged from within. The instant Han Li saw them, his expression shifted ever so slightly. Without hesitation, he turned away with feigned indifference, intending to leave at once. But after only a few steps, a sweet, melodious voice called out from behind him, "Please wait, fellow Taoist." His heart sank imperceptibly, and a muscle twitched at the corner of his cheek. After the briefest pause, he remained where he stood. Turning back, his face was placid once more. "Do you have business with me?" 20 meters away stood a white-robed woman, her delicate features concealed beneath a gauzy veil. She regarded him intently, flanked by 3 companions. Han Li's spiritual sense swept over them in a silent tide. All 4 were nascent soul cultivators. Most striking of all was the middle-aged man in black robes standing behind her. His cultivation matched Han Li's own. Mid-nascent soul stage, a faint heaviness settled in Han Li's chest. Seeing that she had secured his attention, the white-robed woman's eyes curved, slightly gleaming with a hidden light. "Nothing of urgency," she said in a voice as sweet as spring water. "I merely wish to make your acquaintance." "Your cultivation is far from ordinary," would fellow Taoist object. Her tall, graceful figure and every subtle movement spoke of extraordinary beauty. Yet Han Li felt no pride at her invitation, only the urge to leave as swiftly as possible. For this woman was none other than the Endless Sky Saintess. "Befriend me," Han Li replied calmly. "I would be honored to know someone of your cultivation and bearing. However, I am pressed for time and cannot linger." He saluted lightly and moved to depart. In a flicker of motion, the endless sky saintess appeared before him, blocking his path. A faint frown creased her brow. There is no need for such haste, fellow Taoist. I merely have a few questions. Might you spare a moment? Han Li's expression grew solemn, his voice cooling. You intend to question me? Behind her, the black-robed cultivator's patience visibly thinned. A faint layer of black chi seeped across his features, sinister and oppressive. Lady Lin, he said sharply, do you bear some grievance with this fellow Taoist? The saintess brushed a strand of hair from her cheek, her gaze turning cold and penetrating. No, this is the first time I have seen him. And yet, for some reason he reminds me of the person I have sought throughout Great Jin these past years. I wish only to confirm whether I am mistaken. At her words, the black-robed man's handsome face twisted. His eyes shot toward Han Li with undisguised hostility. You mean to say he demanded, this is the one who used our sect's ghost-sifting banner? The saintess narrowed her eyes slightly. I cannot be certain. His appearance and stature differ, but the impression he gives is similar, and the person I seek carried a bamboo tube upon his back. A bamboo tube. The devil cultivator's gaze immediately dropped to the wrapped bundle slung across Han Li's back. As he attempted to probe it with his spiritual sense, a powerful wave of divine sense surged forth and struck him head-on. His expression changed abruptly, and he withdrew at once, face darkening. Fellow Taoist, he said slowly, caution threading through his tone, I am Gei Tian Hao of the Yin-sifting sect. Might your esteemed self reveal what you carry upon your back? If it is not what we suspect, we shall trouble you no further. The other two cultivators exchanged a glance. In the next instant, their figures blurred, reappearing subtly to either side of Han Li, hemming him in without overt aggression. Han Li remained motionless, hands clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. Though no blow had yet been struck, the air itself seemed to thicken. An invisible current of hostility coiled between them, suffocating and poised to erupt. At that very instant, the surrounding core formation and foundation establishment cultivators finally grasped what was about to unfold and, who stood at its center. The mere realization that nascent soul cultivators were on the verge of clashing drained the color from their faces. Without the slightest hesitation, they scattered in every direction like startled birds. Not one dared linger to watch. In a battle between nascent soul stage experts, they were nothing more than drifting dust, liable to be obliterated by a stray aftershock. Within the span of a breath, the entire street was emptied of onlookers. The nearby buildings hummed as protective restrictions flared to life one after another, layers of defensive light shimmering over walls and rooftops. Han Li's cheek twitched. A thin veil of sparkling azure light rose slowly across his face, and an ominous glint flickered deep within his eyes, cold, unfathomable. The four nascent soul cultivators surrounding him sensed the shift immediately. Magic power surged through their meridians in response, and the treasures nurtured within their bodies stirred restlessly, eager to be unleashed. Then Han Li suddenly sneered. The azure light dissipated as swiftly as it had appeared. His expression returned to calm indifference. If memory serves, he said coolly, the West Jin market strictly forbids fighting within its bounds. Those who violate this decree invite pursuit from the 3 great Taoist sects and the 4 great Buddhist sects alike. His gaze sharpened. Would you care to discover what it feels like to be hunted across tens of thousands of kilometers? Or do you believe such powers are beneath your concern, given the backing of the Yin-sifting sect? The moment his words fell, an overbearing voice boomed from afar. Humph, who dares disregard our rules? This humble Taoist would very much like to meet them. 2 streaks of light shot forth from a distant building, one silver, one gold tearing through the air before circling once overhead. They descended swiftly, revealing an elderly Taoist with a rosy complexion and graying hair, standing beside a middle-aged Buddhist monk whose broad, flat nose and stern expression gave him an austere appearance. The old Taoist's eyes blazed as they swept over Han Li and the saintess's group. So it is esteemed cultivators of the yin-sifting sect, he said icily. Does your sect intend to shatter the rules of our West Jin market and wage battle here? The Buddhist monk remained silent, yet the chill in his gaze was unmistakable. When his eyes passed over Han Li and the endless sky Saintes, however, a trace of surprise flickered within them. Unknown nascent soul cultivators were rare enough in Great Jin. Unknown mid-stage eccentrics were rarer still. And now two stood before him. Ge Tianhao's expression darkened. Wu Bi has said coldly, I merely wished this fellow Taoist to clarify a few matters. Do you truly intend to interfere? Wu Bi snorted, his bearing imposing. I care not what grudges you harbor, but no one breaks the market's rules. If you must fight, take it elsewhere. Otherwise, I will not remain so courteous. Ge Tianhao's temper flared. Then wait until after we act. I was just thinking of testing the methods of your Grand Truths sect. The Buddhist monk suddenly chuckled, stepping forward lightly. There is no need for tempers to rise, fellow Taoist Ge. So long as no magic power is employed, we shall not intervene. His gaze shifted to Han Li and Lin Yinping. These two Taoists appear unfamiliar. Might we know your esteemed names? The white-clad woman lifted her chin slightly. I am Lin Yinping, the Endless Sky Saintess. It is a pleasure to meet you. Her tone was gentle, yet her presence was sharp as a blade concealed within silk. The matter is simple. I suspect this fellow Taoist may be a great enemy of our Endless Sky Temple. I only request that he unwrap the bundle upon his back so that I may confirm his identity. If I am mistaken, I shall offer my sincerest apology and trouble him no further. Her luminous eyes settled upon Han Li. How amusing, Han Li replied evenly. And who precisely do you believe I am? My surname is Li. On what grounds do you demand verification of my identity? Lin Yinping's lips curved faintly, but the smile did not reach her eyes. A trace of killing intent seeped from her gaze like frost spreading across a mirror. If fellow Taoist refuses, she said coldly, then it is possible you truly are the irreconcilable foe of my temple. As Saintess of Endless Sky, I cannot allow such a person to roam freely. Wu Bi's expression shifted. Endless Sky Saintess, you are of the soaring tribes. The Buddhist monk's brows rose in visible astonishment. Lin Yinping inclined her head calmly. I have brought embarrassment upon myself. Yes, I serve as the tribe's appointed saintess. Wu Bi's hostility eased at once, replaced by a more measured tone. Your tribe's immortal Shu is a man of extraordinary talent. He reached mid-nascent soul before 400 years of age. I encountered him several times in the past. How fares he? Immortal Shu is well. Lin Yinping replied smoothly, inwardly pleased. 30 years ago, he advanced to late nascent soul, and now stands among our tribe's grand immortals. As expected, Wu Bi murmured, emotion surfacing in his voice. With such talent and youth, he may yet ascend further. Han Li's heart sank imperceptibly. The tide was turning. His thoughts churned rapidly. Was he to face this gathering of nascent soul cultivators head-on? Or would he be forced to unleash blood shadow evasion and flee? At that moment of hesitation, a thread of sound transmission brushed his mind. Monarch soul divergence. A few quiet words, yet they dispelled the weight in his heart, like sunlight scattering storm clouds. Wu Bi had finished speaking with the saintess, and now turned to Han Li, hesitation faintly visible in his eyes. Fellow Taoist, he said, your cultivation is extraordinary. Might I ask where you hail from? Perhaps I can mediate this misunderstanding. Vagrant or not, a genuine mid-nascent soul cultivator was not someone to dismiss lightly. Han Li's face remained rigid, but his tone carried unmistakable sarcasm. I was unaware that entry into West Jin market required one's lineage and origin to be declared. If such a rule exists, I shall comply. If not, I prefer silence. Wu Bi's expression darkened, irritation surfacing. Before he could respond, the Buddhist monk chuckled softly. Our market holds no such rule, of course. Fellow Taoist Wu merely wished to aid in resolving this dispute. If you choose not to reveal your origins, We shall simply ensure no violence occurs within market boundaries. His smile widened slightly. But if fellow Taoist Lin and her companions were to wait beyond the market's entrance, that lies outside our protection. The implication hung heavily in the air. Hanli laughed coldly within his heart. His gaze swept over Gei Tianhao and Lin Yinping. Their eyes flickered, calculating, resolute. They were prepared to gamble everything for the ghost-sifting banner, and perhaps even the holy beast's incarnation. Hanli turned his eyes upon Lin Yinping. So he asked gloomily, "You would withdraw if you confirm the contents of my bundle. Even if you harbor no grievance, do you believe my resentment may be erased by a simple apology? Are you threatening us?" Ge Tianhao's voice dripped with hostility. Hanli threw back his head and laughed. "I just nothing more. But if you force me to unveil my belongings over a baseless suspicion, do you believe I would let such humiliation pass without recompense?" His eyes gleamed with cold light. "My abilities may be unremarkable, but my evasion techniques are not without merit. Even if you attack together, I am confident I can escape. And should that occur," his voice dropped to a dangerous calm, "do not blame me for what follows. I am but a lone cultivator. I fear no retaliation." Silence fell. Ge Tianhao's expression shifted. The other yin-sifting sect members stiffened. Even Wu Bi and the Buddhist monk felt a faint chill creep into their hearts. A mid-nascent soul vagrant, ruthless, unbound, skilled in evasion. Such individuals were nightmares for great sects. With no disciples to protect and no sect to anchor them, they could strike at will, assassinating disciples, disrupting trade routes, crippling foundations. Even late nascent soul cultivators might fail to capture them if their movement arts were profound enough. If such a man chose vengeance, even the 10 great devilish sects would suffer grievously. For a fleeting moment, Ge Tianhao hesitated. If he was wrong, if this was not their quarry. The endless sky saintess felt a similar weight press upon her thoughts. If this man truly possessed a vindictive temperament, the endless sky plains would know no peace. Then suddenly her eyes brightened. A charming smile blossomed upon her lips, warm and disarming. "Why does fellow Taoist Li speak with such gravity over a trifling matter?" she said sweetly. "We merely wish to examine the bundle upon your back. If I am mistaken, you may name a fair condition as compensation for our offense." Her gaze lingered upon him, soft yet searching. "Would that not be reasonable? That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.